That is cracked up good. Alright, guess we're going to check out your spool gun on your welder, huh?
Yes.
Welcome back to part 2 of Cecil's 66 Chevelle build. So today we're going to get this thing up on the lift, do a little bit of floor repair, and then we're going to try to get the engine made it to the transmission and snuck into the car, and hopefully things go good. Let's find out. And a 283 with a decent cam. 600 CFM Holley. It's a little bit smaller than you normally hear about, but it should be perfect on this engine and give us good throttle response. Right there.
And look how turn the inside there.
Oh yeah, that crack is running up and into there. And here we're just putting on the intake manifold and the valve covers before we hook up the engine hoist and get that thing moved over to where the car is. If you look in the back of the block, you'll see that there's a round hole right near the distributor hole, and that is an early small block Chevy thing. And what that is just a vent for the inside of the engine, and what came after that was the PCV valve. So I think we're just going to drill the valve cover for a PCV valve, and we're just going to put in a freeze plug there and just seal it off. We talked about actually mounting a PCV valve in that hole and kind of hiding it, but we are going to put an HEI distributor on it, and it just might be too much of a pain in the rear to do it. So here we got the repaired transmission and everything over, and we're getting ready to marry it up. But if you notice, we're about to run into a problem, and I'll talk about that again in a second. Well, we hit another hard stop. Got the wrong bolts. These are for a pressure plate and they're longer, and on here they just go all the way through and they hit the crank. So I think I got some in my garage. We're going to check it out. And this got all welded up. It's always a critic. Well, I was able to get the right bolts out of my garage, and so I'm putting on blue Loctite and putting them in. These were also torqued to 65 foot-pounds per spec. I didn't show that here on this video, but they were done. And then we got after marrying up the transmission, and those bolts were torqued to 45 foot-pounds. And it was pretty painless once we got that together. I don't know who else has just a casual 65 Mustang fastback sitting in their shop, but Cecil does. The only real difficulty we had in putting the engine in was raising the rear of the transmission up. Getting the floor jack in there proved to be a bit of a challenge, as you had the legs of the engine hoist back there, and then you also had the legs of the two-post lift in the way. And so we ended up shoving the thing in through the front there. You can see Cecil pumping the right handle up and down underneath the cross member. And once we got that, we were able to level things out. We had to just do a little bit of wiggling to get the bolts in through the motor mounts because they're new and frame flex. But once we got the right pressure in the right spots, it went right in. So the frame rails had actually spread a little bit, so we used a ratchet strap to pull them back together so we could get the bolts to line up. For the cross member, it's, you know, these things happen, and the cross member is part of the structure of it, so we got it. So our latest problem was we got a broken bolt for the fender, so we ground it down. We're going to weld on the nut, hit it with some water to try to break the rust bond. My problem is the welder is over there, so it's time to push the car. So our total plan was to drop a nut on the broken stud bolt that was hanging out to bolt in the top of the fender, And the trick here is you put the nut on the top and you weld it from the inside up, and you're basically welding it to the stud, and that gives you something to unscrew it. Plus the extra bonus is you heat everything up, and if you dump some water on it, usually the expansion and sudden shock of the water can break a rust bond right out of there. It's kind of a trick you can use if you're in a jam. And it absolutely didn't work. We ended up trying this 3 separate times with various size nuts, cranking up the heat, really trying to get penetration, and all we did was continuously break the bolt off deeper and deeper into the hole. And so after really giving it a try, we threw in the towel and started drilling it out. And here I've actually drilled it out to a 3/16 hole. And we got a couple easy outs. They're not the reverse thread kind. They're the 4-sided kind that have the little biter teeth. And so we're just beating it down there with a hammer and then just trying to reverse screw out what's left of the bolt. So he's tapping it down while I'm turning it there, and it's just not working. We can't get a good bite on it. And we tried that for a while. I even tried to get a vice grip up inside of it where the other end of the bolt comes out, and just nothing seemed to, it just didn't want to go. So eventually we threw in the towel on that and we drilled it out, and you can see Cecil's running a tap here. And we ended up tapping it all the way down, and that worked. We could put the bolt back in it, and that took way too long. But we were successful, so we were able to shove the car back to the other side and bolt on the fender.
We got the engine in. It's looking good. Everything's bolted up tight. Got a few more things that don't go. Like Norway, we had some problems, but with these old cars, you always got that. Anyway, we're going to call it a day and maybe do some body work panels installations tomorrow, next day. Yeah, we'll see.